Hey everyone, welcome back with a new video. Now I hope that you like the new graphics that I created for the channel. Anyway, let's get into the video right after the intro. Now in this video I want to go over all of the blur effects that are available inside of HitFilm. Now all of them except the bilateral blur effect are available in HitFilm Express, so you should be able to follow this video along with your software. Now let's start with the angle blur effect. The angle blur effect blurs the video in a specific direction. This effect can be used to create the feeling of fast motion. Of course, you can change the rotation and the length of this effect to get the look that you like. The clamp to edge option is also available here. This prevents the blur from going off screen, which is something you might like from time to time. Next up is the bilateral blur effect. It is the only blur that is not standard in HitFilm Express, and if you want to have it in HitFilm Express, you'd either need to buy the Edit Beautify pack or buy HitFilm Pro. Now, a Beautify filter is defined as an edge-preserving smoothing filter, and this means that you can blur your footage while still maintaining some hard edges. The formulae for getting this blur are quite complicated, but the options on the effect itself are quite simple. The radius controls the intensity of the blur. The threshold changes the amount of edges being preserved. And lastly, you can change the dimensions of the blur. Now next up is your standard fast blur effect. The radius works the same as with the other blur effects. You can change the amount of iterations, which is the number of times the blur is calculated. Naturally, a higher amount of iterations results in a smoother blur. Then again, you can change the dimensions and clamp the blur to the edge. Now the diffuse effect works a little bit different than the other blurs, as it duplicates the footage and then it applies a blur to that copy of your footage and then blends it back in with the original. You can change the radius and the opacity, which controls how much it blends back in with the original. Now next up is the most complicated blur from this list, but it is also my favorite. I'm talking about the lens blur effect. It has a lot of options, but it works great because it is designed to mimic the actual effects of a lens. It is highly customizable, so you can always get the effect that you desire. Let's start off with the source layer. You do not need to select one, but if you want a certain part to be in focus, you will need to add one. A depth map can be made very easily inside of a composite shot. Black parts are out of focus, while white parts are sharp. Using gradients and plane layers, you can create a very simple or very complicated depth map, and then you can assign that at the source layer. You can also change the source channel to only look at a certain part of the depth map, such as the luminance or the alpha channels. Changing the radius of the blur changes the intensity. You can also change the focal distance and focal range to adjust what part of the shot is focused based off of the depth map you specified earlier. The specular threshold and specular brightness can be changed to control the bokeh, which is something you get when a part of your footage is out of focus. You can also change the visual quality of the blur to match real-life lenses you've used. And of course, a lens is not complete without an iris, so you have a lot of options there as well, such as the shape, rotation, curvature, pinch, shift, opacity curve, and highlight location. You really need to play around with these settings to come up with something you like. Now, the motion blur effect is a little bit different than the angle blur effect we've used previously, as this effect looks at the footage and calculates the blur based off the footage itself instead of some pre-specified parameters. You can leave the mode to what HitFilm uses normally, but you can also set it to a custom mode. When the mode is set to custom, you can change the shutter angle and shutter phase to get a look you like. The shutter angle simulates the amount of time a real camera shutter is open, and the phase positions the blur in relation to the object. Now, this sounds very complicated, but a good rule of thumb is to keep the phase at half of the value of your shutter angle. Now, there are also some other options available with which you just have to experiment yourself to get the look you like. Next up is the Radial Blur effect. You can change the position to move the center where you want it to be. You can also link the position of the center to a different layer so that it moves with it. You can also change the amount of degrees the image rotates to increase or decrease the amount of blur. And last up is the Zoom Blur effect. You can change the quality and strength to get the look you like. You can also set the position or link the position to another layer to have it move with it. So these are all of the blur effects inside of HitFilm, and I hope that you like these kind of videos where I showcase the different effects, because I'm planning on creating more videos like these to create a series where I explain every single effect that is in HitFilm. So if you like these kinds of videos, please leave a like so that I know that I can make more of these. And we're also almost at 600 subscribers. So I want to thank all of you guys for that. And if you want to help me get to 1,000 subscribers, please, well, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye-bye.
Hi there, thanks for watching. Click here to see my latest video, click here to see a highlighted one, and click here to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.